G'day everybody, welcome to Pub Yarns. Once again, we're not at the pub, we're still on those crazy shifts, but that's alright. So let's get on with the past week. Alright, we're kicking off with the Dolphins versus the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs seem to have lost their way and the Dolphins seem to be finding their way. That was a great score last week with the Dolphins taking out the Dogs by 44-12. Next up is the Roosters versus the Titans, and once again the Roosters come away with the goods. DCE and Tedesco seem to be playing a great game, and I'm glad I got on for the premiership at $7.50, so look out for that in the grand finals. Next up is the Cowboys versus the Eels, and I'm telling you, those Cowboys need a good punch in the head. Mate, they had that game all wrapped up. All they had to do is hang on to the ball and they would have got away with that. But no, they want to do some tricky stuff which brought the Eels home. I didn't take the Eels. I am an Eel supporter. But yeah, the Cows should have had that game all day long. Next up is the Knights versus the Dragons, and I really don't know when the Dragons are going to get their first win. At the moment they've got 9 players out, the Dragons. So I can't see them winning the game anytime soon. So the Knights played well last week, Ponga, Brown again, and like I said, the Dragons are done. Next game in for that was the Rabbits versus the Sharks. It seemed like it was a 50-50 sort of game on paper. Latrell was out and somehow the Rabbits still got away with it. So 36-12. Since Foreign's taken over the Sea Eagles, they can't seem to do anything wrong. Turbo's still out and should be back in maybe next week, but the Broncos are imploding somehow. They did this last year for a couple of rounds and they come good. Magic round this week, is it their time to turn around? We'll see in the next part of this video. But yeah, Manly's going really well. Turbo's coming back shortly, which is going to bolster the troops. But yeah, no good to the Broncos. Next up is the Storm versus the Tigers, and it's good to see that Bellyache and his team have actually got a win for a change. That's 6 straight losses, now they've got a win. I think that the coaching staff in Melbourne's probably got something to do with that. Bellamy's put his hands up and basically said I'm a bit crook, and I think the coaching staff might have come and gave him a good hand. In the meantime, the Tigers do have a few injuries, and so does the Storm, but yeah, the Storm was just too good for the Tigers. Is this the turning point for the Storm? Time will tell. And the last game of the round was the Panthers versus the Raiders. Well, Ricky did have a win last week, but this week, no win for Ricky. The Panthers are just too clinical, and for grand finals, maybe Panthers versus the Roosters, with the Roosters being winners. So that's my prediction. So that rounds out round 10. Round 11, Magic Round. Alright, first game in for the Magic Round is Sharks versus Dogs. Either team aren't showing any sort of consistency this year, and if I was going to be a betting man, and I normally am, this is probably the biggest 50-50 out of all the games this weekend. And I'm going, what am I going? Sharks, Nico Hines, Bulldogs, Lachlan Galvin. I think Sharks might get this, but not by much. Sharks by 2. Alright, the next 50-50 sort of game coming in is the Sharks versus the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have got the home ground advantage because it's Magic Round and Suncorp's their home ground at the moment. And without Latrell in the South Sydney side, and the Dolphins are going pretty bloody good. Once again, 50-50, phone a friend. I'm going to go the Dolphins by 4. Next up is the West Tigers versus Manly. And I tell you, those Sea Eagles aren't going too bad since they've changed coaches. The Tigers have fallen off a little bit at the moment. They've got a few injuries. So in the back of that, I'm going to go Manly. Manly by 8, I reckon. Manly for the spoon, still maybe on the go, but Tigers not playing that good at the moment. Next game in is the Roosters versus North Queensland. And to say that North Queensland choked last week is a dead set understatement, but the Chooks are still running fairly hot, and I reckon the Chooks will win and win by plenty. So I reckon the Chooks by about 16 and go the Chooks for the grand final at $7.50. Next up is the Parramatta versus the Storm. Storm, Parramatta. Storm's got their act together last week. Parramatta's still got a few injuries. I think they've got 8, 9 injuries, Parramatta still to come back. Has Storm turned the corner? Is Storm going to throw a Panthers what they did last year? I think so, eh? And I haven't seen the Eels play very well on a Magic round yet. And I've been to that a couple of times, and I've left the game early. So I'm going Storm by 16. Next game up is the Gold Coast Titans versus the Red Hot Newcastle Knights. And if I was Ponga and Brown are back at the moment, they're playing really good. I think the Knights only got 2 injuries at the moment, so they're almost at full strength. And to say the Titans are playing well these days, well, I can't. So for me, I'm going with the Knights. Knights by plenty. I'm going to go 16 again with the Knights. Now we've got the good old New Zealand Warriors versus the home team Brisbane Broncos. The Broncos crowd will be out there, but I don't think it's going to do them any good. Broncos don't have Reynolds, don't have Haas in the side at the moment, and the New Zealand Warriors, well, once again from the very start of this comp, if the New Zealand's going to win a competition, it's this year and this year only. So on the back of that, I'm going to go with the Warriors. Not by many, because it's Broncos home ground. I'm going to go Warriors by 4. Then comes the good old Panthers versus St. George. I don't know where St. George is going to get their first win from, but it's not going to be this weekend. What sort of score I'm going to put for the Panthers? 30, 36, 40. I reckon Panthers are going to win by 60. So that's 60 to St. George 4. Watch this space and check me out next week. Anyhow, that rounds out the round. And now let's go on to our ladder. Our ladder's got more twists and turns than what there is in a packet of twisties. Fair income. Over the last few weeks, Katrina's just plodding along, and over the last 2 weeks, she's got 7 and 7, and that's put her on top with 53 points. Nats is not too far behind. She's had 6s and 7s also. She's on 52. Then we've got Georgia, Trevor, and Lynette's come back in with a nice full 7 this week also, where Georgia has actually gone 6 and 4 over the last 2 weeks and has actually fallen down. The rest of the crowd behind them is Dan, who's actually got 7s and 6s, Lachlan's with a couple of 5s, Kel with a couple of 6s, and myself with a couple of 5s, and Leanne with a 5 and 6. We're all chipping along there at 49 points. So I've got 49 points, 51 points, 52 and 53 for Katrina at top. So it's a little bit like last year. The girls are starting to get away from the guys. But like last year, some of these guys got back on the saddle and come back in it. So that looks pretty good for our ladder. Don't forget to check your scores to make certain 100% right. Alright, now let's go on to the recap for what have I picked this week. Alright, recap time. What did I say? Sharks by 2 and a nail biter. Dolphins by 4, just as good. Manly by 8 because they've got their act together. And then I'm going Roosters by 16, Storm by 16, Knights by 16, thanks for Ponga and Brown, Warriors by 4, and the clinical Panthers by 56. Score 60-4 against the haphazard, no good St. George. Anyhow, that's it for me this week. Hopefully you all like and subscribe. Don't forget to put your tips in the comments below. and I'll see you all next week.